Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Karen Read. After a mistrial, Karen Read is back on trial for the second-degree murder of John O'Keefe. It's alleged that she hit him with her car before driving off. Before we get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition, the goal of this is not to prove guilt nor innocence. It's just to provide commentary based on her body language. Last thing before we get started is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. We're going to be looking at a couple of different clips today. First, we're going to be looking at her reacting to Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe is one of the most consequential witnesses, and I actually did a video just on her testimony. But today, we're really going to be focusing on how Karen Read is reacting to that. All right, let's jump right in.
You saw John O'Keefe in the waterfall. That wasn't the last time you spoke to him.
No.
You had spoken to him, was it on the ride to your nieces? To your sisters?
Yes.
Did you call him or did he call you?
So what we're looking for body language-wise is changes in behavior. Now, if you look at Karen Read, she sits and rocks back and forth in her chair. This is pretty typical of how she's been the entire time that Jennifer McCabe has been talking. She does this with other people providing testimony as well. So there's really nothing too meaningful there unless there's a big change in that. Additionally, she does seem pretty cued into what Jennifer McCabe's saying. She's staring directly at her. She seems very intent on listening. So right now, this is her baseline.
Conversation that you had with him other than that one conversation?
Yes, he called me back, and he was trying to find it.
Trying to find the address?
Try to find the house on.
All right, so we just noticed a couple of things. One, I'm sure you noticed that she crossed her arms. Now, sometimes people do this for comfort, but it also is a way to protect ourselves. When we're feeling defensive, we instinctively like to cross our arms. So let's listen to that again. Let's hear what the context was, and let's see what made her cross her arms.
Yes, he called me back, and he was trying to find it.
Trying to find the address?
And you also saw with her mouth, she seemed to have pursed her lips a little bit. To me, that looked like a look of disapproval. So you're seeing her shut herself off as well as have a look of disapproval on her mouth. Something about talking about this seems to be bothering Karen Read right now.
Find the house on Fairview.
Did he ask you for help trying to find the address? Point of designation to try to guide him to get to your sister's house?
Yes.
Tell us who Bella was to John.
You also watch her blink rates picking up. So we're seeing a lot of signs of defensiveness and stress right now.
Were you expecting anybody else?
We had mentioned it to Karen and John, and I had actually just spoken to John, so I was expecting them.
So when you saw...
As she continues to talk about this, you can see Karen Read is scooting back a little bit. We do that to gain distance. It's when we don't want to connect with somebody. And obviously, I don't think that she wants to connect with Jennifer McCabe. But it seems like as she's talking about certain things, we're continuing to notice different changes in body language. So you're seeing her scoot back, trying to disconnect right now.
Is that the first moment you realized that that was John O'Keefe on the ground?
Yes, it was.
When you see Kerry removing the snow from John's face, what do?
I was frozen. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that was him just lying there.
Tell us what you're seeing.
What do I see?
Now, one thing you're noticing now, as she's talking about finding John O'Keefe's body, Karen Read has stopped moving. And this is interesting because she's been moving pretty much incessantly throughout this. Like I said, I'm skipping huge chunks here, but I'm just showing you, I'm trying to limit it to show you some of what I'm observing. Oftentimes when we're afraid of being seen or we're afraid of getting caught, we tend to stop moving. So it's interesting that usually we watch when people start moving, but for her at this point, she has stopped moving. So as they're talking about this, you're seeing Karen Read shut down a little bit. You're seeing her not move anymore. And to me, that says that at this point, she finds herself vulnerable as Jen is talking about these things. Watch this right here.
I was frozen. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that was him just lying there.
Tell us what you're seeing.
What do I see? I see Kerry just wiping the snow off. Karen had straddled him and had lifted her shirt and his shirt and was laying on him, and Kerry was screaming at her to get
So there's still little bits of movement, but it's dramatically less than it was earlier.
Off of him, and I was literally just stunned. I mean, there he was.
What did John look like when you saw him?
I couldn't see much but his face, because the rest was snow and Karen was moving over him, but he just looked like just him, but just like frozen.
What did you do?
At first, I just stood there for a minute.
All right, so now she started moving again. Now you're seeing her disengage. You see, first she did this. She tucked her lips in. Our lips have a lot of nerves, so it calms us down to mess with our lips. So you see that, and then she starts moving again. So I think that at that point, the stress is building up. She tries to relieve it somewhat, and now she's going back to more of her normal cadence.
Like just him, but just like frozen.
What did you do?
At first, I just stood there for a minute.
You see, she looks away. That's a way to disengage. So at this point, whether it's because of the intensity, there's a variety of reasons why she might be doing that. But the look away, the scooting of the body, that is a way to disengage from the person that's talking right now. So right now she is actively trying to not engage with Jennifer McCabe or not be connected, so to speak. As a forensic psychologist, unfortunately, I know how much someone can learn about you by tracking your data online. I've been involved in cases where I've seen it directly. There's an incredible amount of information out there if you haven't managed it yet. That's why I use Incogni. Right now, hundreds of data brokers are quietly collecting and selling your personal info, your name, address, shopping habits, even sensitive data. So what Incogni can do for you is they step in and they fight back. They contact these data brokers and they demand that your information be deleted, and they don't stop until it's gone. It's fully automated, it's legal, and it works. I started getting confirmation emails within days of using Incogni, and I was shocked at how much relief I felt because I just didn't know how much information was out there. The reality is, if you're online, your data's out there, and Incogni is the easiest way to take control of it. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code DrGDeal at the link in the description and get 60% off an annual plan. So go to incogni.com/DrGDeal and take your private information back. It's time these data brokers no longer had access to you or what is yours. Keep it private. All right, let's get back to the analysis.
Kerry's car, and then Kerry was also yelling at me to go to the back of the car to look for blankets and towels.
You also saw a big swallow right there from Karen Reed. That does suggest that this is making her more anxious. Watch this right here.
And then Kerry was also yelling at me to go to the back of the car to look for blankets and towels. So after I called 911, I went back over to Kerry, Karen, and John. And at that point, Kerry asked if I would take over compressions. So she got up and I started doing compressions, and Karen was doing mouth to mouth.
So you can see right when they started talking about the defensive posture comes back out. The chest is a very vulnerable area. So when we cross our arms, it blocks it off from other people. So when we hear things that we don't like or things that make us feel vulnerable, sometimes we literally physically close ourselves off. Now we're going to watch some testimony from the following day with Jennifer McCabe.
In front of that female EMT.
In this, I say that she said, "Could I have hit him? Is he dead?"
It's actually, did I hit him?
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I apologize. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?
And that was at the scene, in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing.
You'll notice that there are times when Jennifer McCabe talks, particularly when she's talking about things like what Karen Reed said, the more intense parts of the testimony, that she doesn't look at Jennifer McCabe. She instead looks away, looks at her attorney. And what that says is that she is trying her best to not connect in those moments. Maybe they're too intense. Maybe she feels too much of something to be able to look at Jennifer McCabe. So instead, she focuses on her attorney. An interesting strategy.
That was at the scene, in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing. You attributed the three statements to my client to.
You'll notice that she just exposed her neck. Now, this is interesting. We oftentimes do this when we're feeling very confident, when we want to show somebody we feel no threat from you. So when we do this, when we raise our head like that, that exposes a very vulnerable part of us. And so when you think of somebody turning their nose up to somebody else, people do that very literally sometimes. Let's watch this again in context.
At the scene, in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing, you attributed the three statements to my client to death, correct?
There was
See, she raised her head up and then shook her head no. She's trying to show people this is not true. This is not something that I said.
many different times when we were talking to different EMTs, the female EMT, the men, police officers.
May I approach?
Yes.
Starting at lines 22 through 25, going on to page 209, down to line 4, was...
Now let's see what comes next, because as she's preparing for this, Karen Reed is bracing herself. Now, it's one thing to just cross your arms. It's another to hold onto your bicep. And oftentimes we do this when we're feeling an immense amount of pressure. So I'm not sure if she knows what her attorney's about to ask, but it's something that she seems to be bracing herself for.
Down to line 4 was, quote, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. And at one point I'm standing with Miss Reed and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? It was pretty much nonstop. That was your testimony in front of the grand jurors, correct?
Yes, it was.
And that was April 26th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Not one time, Ms. McCabe, did you utter the phrase, I hit him, as it relates to my client in front of that grand jury on April 26th, 2022. Did you? Not once.
I'd have to read through the 227 pages to see.
As you sit here
So now you can see she put her arms down. She's not crossed anymore. And I think the reason for that is that she was bracing herself to hear her attorney talk about the I hit him part. And that's such a consequential part of this trial. So bracing herself to get through that. Once he got done saying that, once they got started talking about it, you see her brushing her eyebrow. She's trying to soothe herself after that. So it must have been very intense for her to prepare for that. Watch this part again.
on April 26th, 2022. Did you? Not once.
I'd have to read through the 227 pages to see.
As you sit here today, do you remember ever saying to those grand jurors, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, in front of them?
Now pay attention to her chin. Now earlier, she put her chin up because it was a point where she was feeling like she wanted to show everybody, look, I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable. This does not scare me. This is the exact opposite of that. Right now, she's tucking her chin in. She's feeling very defensive after that was said. Watch this again.
Today, do you remember ever saying to those grand jurors, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, in front of a female EMT?
I've spoken to in a few grand juries. That morning, your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and there was a female EMT there.
Once again, watch how still she gets when this is being said.
Your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and there was a female EMT there.
And then she starts moving again after it's said. But when she's saying, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, she's sitting perfectly still. In that moment, the way I interpret it is trying to hide, in essence, is that when she's saying, I hit him, that's such a vulnerable place for her. She doesn't want anybody to focus on her at that moment. She sits still, tries to hide. We do that instinctively when we don't want to be seen. Now we're going to watch a clip from Dateline that was shown in court.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him?
So you see how much energy she has behind this as she's speaking. There's clearly a lot of feeling here. Now what we're seeing, let's keep watching this over again.
I mean,
So the first thing we see, she brushes her hair like this. She touches her hair to move it out of her face. Now, it's not in her face, and so oftentimes we think of people doing that to calm themselves down. So she's getting ready to talk about something intense, and as you can see, there is a lot of energy here.
I didn't think I hit him, but could I?
So when she said, I didn't think I hit him, that was probably true. And so that's what's so challenging about something like this, is that whether or not she believed at the time that she had hit him or that she had knocked him over or killed him or whatever it is, the way that she's speaking right now, I think is in fact how she feels about it, which is she didn't know if she hit him.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him?
So you see her also as she's looking away when she's saying this. It makes when we're talking about things this intense, it can be hard to look the person in the eye that we're speaking to, particularly because there's so much involved here.
Could I have He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see.
Now, this is interesting. When she said he didn't look mortally wounded, afterwards she said, as far as I could see. And when she said that, her eyes got big and her eyebrows went up. Now, if somebody's eyebrows go up, typically that's to make somebody focus on your face. But when your eyes are open like that with it, that's surprise. So I think, if I'm to interpret this correctly, let's listen to this again and I'm going to explain.
Could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see.
See, he didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see. So I think that surprise was the fact that he, in fact, was ultimately mortally wounded. So at the time, she likely didn't think that he was mortally wounded as far as she could see. So she was surprised when she found out that he was.
As I could see, well, could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to.
So these very genuinely seem like questions she's asking herself. These are things that have a lot of energy behind them, and there seems to be very natural cadence to the way that she's saying this.
As far as I could see, well, could I have done something that knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again.
So you see that type of energy there. That's when you want to be seen. These are the things she's been thinking about. Could I have clipped him? Could I have knocked him out? Could he have frozen to death? I know all this is hypothetical as she's saying it, but this seems to be the kinds of questions that she probably really did ask herself over and over again because there's so much energy there. Let's watch this all one last time because it's very short, and then we'll move on.
I mean, I didn't think I hit him, but could I have clipped him? Could I have tagged him in the knee and incapacitated him? He didn't look mortally wounded as far as I could see, but could I have done something?
So there you go again with that, as far as I could see. And that's the interesting piece of this, is that she was surprised that he was mortally wounded. So it seems like she did recognize that she clipped him or could have hit him or whatever. But when she found out he was actually dead, that was shocking to her.
That knocked him out and in drunkenness and in the cold didn't come to again.
In this particular moment, you dropped him off at the party.
Yeah, would have had to.
The last clip we're watching today is from Boston 25 News. It's an interview with Karen Reed and her attorney.
How important was those two accident reconstructionists coming in saying no way, no how?
I cannot describe the gravity of those two witnesses. First of all, they were unassailable in terms of their credibility and their credentials. There was nobody who testified that was more credentialed to talk about the issues that were attendant to them than those two.
So I've talked before about how she leaves her neck exposed when she's feeling very confident. So as they're talking about these accident reconstruction reports, she looks very, very confident right now.
Gentlemen, those two doctors, PhDs, the fact that we didn't hire them, they can't be considered hired guns by the prosecution. The fact that the Commonwealth didn't even.
However, if you also watch, talking about this is making her breathe harder. You can see her chest is moving up and down in a way that makes it look like her breath is picking up. So even though she appears pretty calm on the outside, her breathing is heavy. So I imagine that her heart's pumping pretty hard. When your heart pumps faster, it uses more oxygen. You got to breathe more. You got to breathe deeper. Just watch what I'm talking about.
They can't be considered hired guns by the prosecution. The fact that the Commonwealth didn't even know their name. They were completely independent third parties who did not know Karen Reed or this case, and they did not know that their assessment was attendant to Karen Reed or this case. Central to their testimony. Completely credible. I can't describe the gravity of those two witnesses and the impact that it had on the trial and getting to the truth. And what they said echoed everything that we had been learning during the.
It's interesting when he said getting to the truth. Watch her mouth right here.
What they said echoed.
So right after he talked about getting to the truth, she makes this facial expression. So I want you to think about if you're scared. You know, your mouth goes down like that. It's very interesting that that's when her face decided to do this, because that distinctly, to me, appears like fear. You may disagree, but that's how I interpret that. Let's watch this again and we'll keep going.
That it had on the trial and getting to the truth. And what they said echoed everything that we had been learning.
And then there was a big swallow afterward.
During the course of our investigation on the defense side, which is that car was not damaged by hitting a human body. It did not hit a person. And John O'Keefe was not injured by being hit by.
Now, this is something she also does during the trial. So right now, she's not looking at the interviewer. She's looking at her attorney rather than looking at the interviewer, rather than looking at Jennifer McCabe when she was talking about critical points. she turns to him. So it's interesting that that's when she chooses to disengage. I think that it gives her a lot of confidence to focus on her attorney.
Is that car was not damaged by hitting a human body. It did not hit a person. And John O'Keefe was not injured by being hit by a vehicle. No way, no how.
See, and then the chin goes right back up, feeling very confident when her attorney says this.
It didn't happen. As one of the witnesses testified, the physics don't lie. The science doesn't lie. The car did not make contact with John O'Keefe. She didn't do this.
So hopefully this helps you better understand some of the behavior and body language that we saw. We saw her being very uncomfortable and defensive oftentimes when Jennifer McCabe was talking about things particularly related to what she heard her say. So whether or not you believe that Jennifer McCabe was telling the truth, Karen Reed was reacting strongly to what she was saying, oftentimes in a defensive posture. You saw her crossing her arms. She saw her doing a lot of soothing behaviors. And in the Dateline interview, it seemed that she was surprised when she talked about John O'Keefe being dead. The questions she asked, the thoughts about whether or not she had actually hit him, it seems to be that comes from a place of a lot of energy, and it seems like there was some genuine shock when it turned out that he was dead. At least that was my take on it. If you have any thoughts about this or there's other clips you want me to analyze, please let me know in the comments below. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.